off. Western states could be running out of time to hash out a new long-term deal to share Colorado River water. The Trump administration will play a central role at some point. President Trump has dismissed climate change as a hoax, though scientists agree that it has accelerated water loss on Lake Mead, the reservoir that provides water to Arizona. So I asked the state's Water Resources Director this past week how Trump's stance will affect the agreement.
Whether you want to define it as climate change or anything else, the Trump administration is certainly embracing hydrologic futures in the NEPA process that reflect what climate change scientists are telling us the Colorado River might provide. So regardless of whether they can say the name climate change out loud, it doesn't matter. They're actually looking at those impacts as we speak.
So we can check off that box as the 7 so-called basin states in the West negotiate an agreement. Right now there is concern in Arizona about whether an agreement can get done in the next 2 months, and more important, whether it will protect our share of Colorado River water. Joanna Allhands, opinion editor for azcentral.com. She also writes extensively on water policy, is our go-to person to make sense of a complex negotiation. Welcome back to Square Off.
Good to be here.
Okay, before we started, you set me straight on the deadline. We love deadlines in TV.
Yeah.
Is there a deadline or not on this agreement?
There is no set date. It's not like if you don't have an agreement by June 1st or July 1st or whatever day, that is not what we're talking about. It's just more that these things are super complex. They take a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of public comment that needs to happen. And if we're looking at how long it took for the last set of agreements to come to fruition, it took about 1.5 years. We're already behind that deadline, if you want to call it a deadline.
Okay, so set the table for us, because lots of folks don't follow this closely. I'm sure it seems to a lot of people we're just lurching from crisis to crisis here. Another new agreement, another new agreement.
We kind of are.
we kind of are.
Yeah.
So what is being negotiated right now? Who's at the table?
That's a really good question, because everything that's happening is happening behind closed doors, so we don't really know. And though the negotiators for the states that are appointed by the states to sort of be the voice, though they are meeting together, their heels are so dug in, there's no progress that's happening there.
What is the goal of this negotiation? What kind of agreement do they have to hammer out?
That's also a good question.
Okay.
Good question. We don't know, because there really is not a good sense of what we're actually trying to get to, other than avoiding some sort of terrible, protracted Supreme Court lawsuit. In terms of how much water are we going to need to save over time, who's going to take those cuts? That's been the big thing that everyone's fighting over, is who's going to take these cuts, who's going to shoulder it. We don't even know how deep.
Which of the 7 basin states that is going to take those cuts?
And within those states, is it farmers? Is it cities? Tribes? Who's going to take those cuts? Everybody's fighting over that.
How long will this agreement last?
Good question.
Oh, wow, thank you.
You would think that we have these questions answered, but no. Technically, there is hope that eventually we could get to maybe something that would last for 20, 30 years. But in some of the circles, people that I'm talking to are saying, like, I don't even know if we get there. I mean, there's even people who talk, and then a lot of people dismiss it right away, of saying, we may not get to anything at all, and we might just have some sort of random short-term agreement just to sort of keep the lake afloat while we continue to fight.
Now, you've grown increasingly pessimistic in your columns about how Arizona is going to fare in this. We've always had the weakest hand in these negotiations.
Yeah, and I mean, even though it's not at all clear how deep this is going to go, how much, who's going to take it, in all of the proposals that have been made so far, whether they move forward or not, all of those proposals would hit us hard, especially in central Arizona, the cities and tribes here that rely on the Colorado River.
So as water consumers, what might we see under these proposals? How would it filter down to my house?
Good question. I really wish that I had better answers, concrete answers. And I think if you can see, that's sort of the overarching thing here, is there are no concrete answers. What we can sort of surmise is that depending on how deep these cuts could go, we could go much deeper than we've ever gone before in any shortage declaration that has happened to date. So it could start cutting into supplies depending on how deep it goes.
And so other states are saying, hang on, Arizona, that's just posturing. It's a negotiation, you're posturing, you're saying things are going to be really bad. Keep your hands off our water. Is it posturing or not?
Everybody's posturing. Every state, every person is jockeying to try to save what they can. And that's the big deal, is that we know that in order to stabilize the river, to stabilize the lakes so they don't go so low that we can't actually get water back out of them, we have to use so much less water than we do now, and that's going to hurt.
And is that inevitable?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. We have to use less.
Was that a good question?
I finally gave you an answer.
I hate
a concrete yes, but yes.
I hate to have to ask it. Lastly, the Trump administration, we heard what, the whole climate hoax thing appears to be on the sidelines. Will it stay there? And what role could they play in this that might be different from the Bidens?
That's a good question. I don't know how it'll come up. I think a lot of it's going to have to depend, because we don't even know who's going to be the head of the Bureau of Reclamation, which is the agency that oversees the lakes. Supposedly, we're going to get a nomination for that position here, I'm told, potentially in weeks. So maybe we'll have a better sense of how they're going to play this. The new administration has been super quiet. They really have not said a whole lot. So it's hard to say.
All right. Well, we'll have you back for more good questions.
When I have more answers.
Joanna Allhands, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure.